then you say, well, where is this carbon coming from? It's coming from fossil fuels. Okay, so if we're going to stop this carbon that's heating up the world, it's not, then we've got to get rid of fossil fuels. So what you do then is you start, like Biden has done since he came to power, you shut down pipelines, you stop exploration for new fossil fuel sources on federal land, you manipulate the financial system to make it unfinancially possible to go on with fossil fuels. You change the law to target fossil fuels in every way you can. And you say, what we're going to do is we're going to have renewables like solar power and wind power, which the solar power, the wind power alone is incredibly environmentally destructive. And by the way, where do the vast majority of wind turbines come from? China. So now you're starting to give control of the wind relationship with energy to China. And where do most of the solar panels come from? Oh, China. So and this will become relevant as we go along, you're moving the benefits to China, but you are targeting fossil fuels. And what that means is the price of energy goes up, because that's what happens when you go to so-called renewables. And by the way, we know, but we're not telling them, is renewables are never in a trillion years going to replace the quantity of energy and the quality that fossil fuels did. So what else can we do? So we've started it, and the price of energy is going up. That's good. I know we'll trigger a proxy between Russia and China, actually, and the West. That's what we'll do. And what we'll then do is, because of the Russians, what we're going to do is we're going to have sanctions against Russia. We're going to have sanctions against Russian natural gas. We're going to have sanctions against Russian oil, which the EU is about now to introduce. And that'll show them, right? But Russia has massive markets for its energy in China and in India. So who is the biggest loser of the sanctions against Russia? The West. Because the idea of this cult is to dismantle the Western economy, and indeed dismantle Western society as we know it. So now you have this proxy war going on through Ukraine. We care so much about the Ukrainian people and what's going on that we never even talk about peace talks to stop it. We just send more and more weapons to put fuel on the fire because we want to keep it going because it suits our agenda. And what happens is not only the cost of energy goes up, but massively part of that is the supply of energy goes down. So now you've got a point where so many people in the Northern Hemisphere this winter, vast numbers of people, are going to be making a choice between eating and keeping warm. They're already making it. It's extraordinary. It's disgusting. Now, what is that doing? It's pulling people down into the lower levels of the Hunger Games society of total dependency. Then you think, okay, we want to control that which they're dependent upon. So we're doing this with energy. That's putting the price up of everything, and it's making people unable to keep warm. And that's good, that is. What else do they need? Food. Yes. Yes, they need food. What can we do about that? Oh, I know. What we'll do is during lockdown, this is exactly what happened, is we'll start to dismantle the global food chain. And what we'll do, because are you there, Bill? Bill Gates? Yeah. We want you to buy up loads of farmland in America, okay? Where the food production land. Yeah. So now, Bill Gates, all these things are being told, we're being told to believe by a man you wouldn't trust to tell you the date in a calendar factory. And so now Bill Gates is the biggest owner of farmland in America. What else do we need to do? Who produces food? Oh, farmers do. So we got to target them. So what we'll do, who's the biggest producer of food, exporter of food in the world? Well, America, yeah, okay. Who's the second by value? Well, it's the Netherlands. Right. We've got our guy in the Netherlands, haven't we? Yeah, what's his name? Rutte. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, we've got a guy in Rutte. Yeah, it's Mark, his first name. Yeah, Mark Rutte. Yeah, he's the Prime Minister. We always make sure he gets in because he does what we tell him. So now we have, at a time where people are talking about food shortages, about the dismantling of the global food chain, we're having Mark Rutte, who led the government, that's done what they have to me, targeting thousands of Dutch farmers to take over their land. And they're doing it on the basis of the use of nitrogen. You know, they have a nitrogen minister in the Netherlands. And why are they doing that on the basis of nitrogen? Well, that adds to climate change. So the climate change hoax just keeps on giving. And this is the world we're going into, and this is why they want digital currencies. This is why they want the whole world digital, because then they can basically take out of your bank account whenever they choose. And we've just had now this agreement at the G20. Of course, they all agreed, because they wouldn't dare not to, of moving to this so-called vaccine passport and these digital currencies, which suddenly everyone, like the drag queens, has had the same idea. Oh yeah, we'll go digital, have a digital currency. And it was 1992 that I wrote in a book called The Robots' Rebellion, that 1992, that the plan is to get rid of all cash and have a single world currency, which would not be cash. That's exactly where it's gone. And what are these vaccine passports working on? QR codes. And the idea, and it's already coming in, you've got credit card companies, MasterCard is one of them, who is producing cards which, as you use them through the month, are totting up your alleged carbon footprint. And once you get to a certain point of limit of carbon footprint, as they allege they've worked it out, you can't use the card anymore. And what is planned for this so-called vaccine passport, which is designed to be far more than just vaccines, though certainly that, and what's happening in China, is that you have a carbon limit, and beyond that, you can't buy anything anymore. And we're moving along the road towards carbon lockdowns, climate change lockdowns, where they say we've got to lock down because the carbon limit has been passed, etc. So the lockdowns are a precursor to lockdowns, not just for other pandemics, but lockdowns for climate change. So what you're looking at is
they might lock us down in the future because we're putting out too much carbon.
Oh yeah.
Say this city shuts down, you shut down individually, and we're already conditioned to the lockdown. Now they have a different trigger.
Yeah, but it was all. It was actually pointed out during lockdown by these characters. Oh look, a lot less carbon's being created. You know, and by the way, a study's just come out that shows that the Earth has got 14% greener in terms of vegetation in the last 30 years. Now, why would that be? Well, let's answer it with another question. Why do growers in greenhouses put extra carbon dioxide into the greenhouse? Because it makes the plants grow bigger, stronger, and in greater abundance. So in this period, this industrial period, and this is not denied, the Earth has got greener. More food has been able to be produced. And the lower the carbon dioxide, the less the natural world flourishes. So you've got China as the blueprint. So let's look at this. What has been happening for decades and decades, is that Western corporations have been outsourcing their production, even of basic things, like antibiotics. It's dominated in terms of production in China, right? They've been outsourcing it to China. So more and more of the global supply chain of all these different goods has been handed to China. And so what have they done? They've given control to China, not only increasingly of energy production through wind turbines and solar panels, which are very limited in terms of energy production anyway, while they're destroying fossil fuel production. But they've given the control of the supply chain of basic things to China. And the supply chain has started to break up. And if you look, because one of the things that I've realized over the years is nothing happens for one reason. There's always multiple reasons. So you've got the developing extremes of control in China, which are planned eventually to come westward, that we're seeing now. But locking down hundreds of millions of people means you throw your production into disarray compared with what it was before. So you give a smack again to the supply chain of goods because you've given China so much control of global production. And I said decades ago that the plan was eventually to bring the West into a global with the East, Russia and China predominantly. And we're actually seeing that already, because you've got the West now that is openly supporting, funding and arming Ukraine against Russia. Beat about the bush, the West is with Russia through Ukraine. Hello? But then you've got Russia that's being supported by China, not least economically in terms of buying its energy, but also in other ways. And so China's supporting Russia, the West is supporting Ukraine. You're seeing the pieces being moved into place for the very conflict that I've been talking about all these decades that was planned between the West and Russia, China. A conflict which is designed to be won by China. Why? Because China is the blueprint for the global cult.